Welcome to episode 53 of Think Big with Michael Zellner. All positive, no politics. My guest today is Josh Robinson. Josh is the owner of Josh Strong. He is an online health and fitness coach who specializes in helping women and men ages 30 to 55 lose weight with the stomach shred method. Though the main reason why I have Josh on today, as a guest is that we're going to talk about, something that unfortunately many people don't talk about. And if by the time it is talked about, sometimes, unfortunately, it's too late and dive into this and it's suicide. We're going to talk about it, both of our experiences with those thoughts and how we ended up on the other side of it and survived. We hope if anyone is watching or listening today that maybe we can make a little difference. As a disclaimer, I want to say that neither of us are professionals or psychologists, and anyone who's having these thoughts should definitely seek professional help. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, big buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Why do people always want to ask this question?
That's a good question.
I will tell you, I am such an open book. I don't know if there's something interesting about me that people don't know. Like I can't think of one thing I'd say, well, you don't know. Some people don't know I was an undercover officer with MPD for a while. Like that really interesting, but a lot of my friends know that I did that. So there's not one thing I can think of that I haven't told anybody that's not like when we go into the talk of the bad parts of my life that's kind of almost scary interesting. Like I got a hit pal with me when I was in the police department and, stuff like that. But there's not much that people just don't know about me. So that's one of those questions when someone asks me, I was like, I can't ever come up with something good because I tell everybody everything.
Hey,
you tell me something I don't know about you.
Something that you don't know about me. Let me think of it. Yeah, that's a good question. Throwing it back at me there.
Yeah, let's bounce it back to you, Chad.
I was raised by, and not everybody knows that my parents were, my mom is still alive. My parents were awesome. My father was a podiatrist here in Memphis for over 45 years. And I was very blessed to have two parents that were there for me unconditionally. And I've shared this online before, but not everybody knows that. And I know I'm what I realize is about this, and the reason why I brought that up is that some people take that for granted. And I know how lucky I am because I have a lot of friends that I grew up with that parents got divorced and, only had a single parent, and it affected, their lives in a hard way. Everybody goes through something. But having two parents that were there for me, I really realized how blessed I am that, I was very fortunate to have that.
Yeah, that's definitely rare. And it's, I tell people all the time though, whether you're rich or poor, we didn't grow up with a lot, so I can go more on the lower middle class side. Whether you're rich or poor, everybody has their battles and you don't know what they're going through. Like, poor people, I always thought like people that had a lot of money had it all figured out, but they don't even know who their real friends are sometimes.
Right.
So everybody has their battle. You just got to be patient with them and learn that we're all the same, no matter how much money we make, what we look like, what our religion is, political. By the way, I'm glad you do know politics on the show, but it doesn't matter. We all have the same, we have issues and we want the same for our lives. Most of us, at least.
Yeah. When you brought that up about that, I was talking to someone yesterday. I said, the example I use is look at a Grizzlies basketball game. If you're watching it on television, the excitement in the crowd, the fans cheering, all different races, all different backgrounds, all different ages, high-fiving, clapping, hugging people they don't even know. Right. That's how life should be.
Yeah, and I used to get real frustrated when sports turned to politics a lot, not because I cared about which side they were on, because this brings me together. People that when I played sports with, from opposite races, we're still best friends today because of sports, and I can still always talk to them. No matter what, that brings us together. And when you start to divide us on that, like, man, please stop. Like, I'm begging you, let us have this. Let me have this. I don't know.
It's the escape we need.
Exactly. And that's my only escape. Like when I was going through my stuff as a kid, I turned to sports as the only thing that pretty much, even as a kid, before the stuff that you saw in that Facebook and Instagram post, it was sports that kept me going when things were the hardest for me.
Right. So, Josh, you graduated from the University of Memphis in 2002 with a Bachelor of Science in Sports Management, and you mentioned the police department. How did you go from that to the police department?
Man, that's a good question. Well, I would tell you this. The only reason I ever graduated college shout out to my ninth grade teacher for telling my grandparents raised me a lot. And my granddad was my best friend. And my grandma was my best woman. They had my back. But this teacher told my grandma I wasn't college material in ninth grade. That's the only reason I went to college. She was right, though. I was not college material. So I got a degree in something like what I went to, like, all right, what do you want to do? I said, well, I like business and I like sports. I was always a good salesman. You know, I loved being around people. So that was one thing I knew I was, decent. It's like, well, I like business and stuff like that. And like, but I also love sports. Is there any kind of agree with that? So I took that route and I graduated in 4 years just to prove the teacher wrong. So when I got out of college, that let you know I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I got a job with like Circuit City doing commission for like computers when they had a commission base. Well, they stopped doing commission. Like, well, hell, what am I going to do now? My granddad was a police officer and I've always looked up to him. And so I said, you know what? I can't get a job with my degree. I was applying to places like sports teams and stuff like that. It was a hard time for me to get a job. I worked a lot through college. I didn't do the networking like I should have. I should have took all the internships I could, but I worked FedEx, umpired baseball games, worked at the hospital doing medical records for them. So I worked a lot to, instead of being able to, have that, work for free. And I put my application in with the police department. And it was one of those times where they were just hiring quick. Within like 45 to 60 days, they hired me. I was like, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I stuck with it for about 8 years full time, another 11 years full and reserve time. And that's kind of how the switch made. I didn't know if I want to do it, but there for a while, just seeing the happiness on my granddad's face was worth all of it.
That's awesome. When you brought up all the different things that you've done in your career, you just reminded me of a couple of things that I should have mentioned when you asked me what are people that don't know about me, because you know how things just pop into your head. One is that I sold Cutco knives when I was in college. Cutco's a big name today, but back when I was in college, it wasn't a big name. And then I ran an office here, was a manager for 5 years, and had salespeople under me. And then secondly, I used to own a bar on the Highland Strip called The Library. It was a little live music bar in the late 90s. And, I had, bands that were up and coming at the time, that got big. Some of them got big that played there. And so it was a lot of fun. So those are just two little quick things that not everybody knows.
Great. Yep.
You were co-owner of PT Squared in Collierville, and then you went out on your own in 2019 and you started Josh Strong. You've had it close to 4 years now. It seems like you're having a lot of success. Tell the audience a little bit about what you do and a few of the success stories that you've had.
Okay. First off, the PT Squared, it's a real sensitive subject because that was the business me and my ex-wife had together. Right. And how that got started is my ex-wife, broke her neck cheering in college, University of Memphis. And we wanted to help people the way that people kind of give it up on her. It was really my passion. It was like, man, I just want to help people that feel like they can't give themselves. So it was physical therapy and personal training. So that's kind of what when we got our divorce, I was like, you can, you had that. And I'll just kind of see I didn't know what I was going to do. So yeah, so I transitioned to online training a lot. I do a couple one-on-ones. I have a lot of success. I mean, I'm blessed. I'm not going to brag on myself. I tell people all the time, it's not because I'm the smartest guy in the room. It's not because I know the most. It's because I think I care the most. I really do think I care a lot more than most people. And I know somebody's going to say, well, that's bold of you to say, but I stay up at night thinking about it. It's almost a problem, So I think that's what helps me out. But, I do a method where I try to work on habits a lot more than just restrictive diets and meal plans. I try to focus on things that we can do, but also the biggest thing everybody works on the first 2 weeks to a month till we get it figured out is your why. If this ain't right, we'll never get there. If we don't know what we're doing. And I'll give a success story of I've got a couple, one is Jessica. It's one of my best friends' wives. I didn't even want to take her. She doesn't even know this. So she watched it. I was like, I don't want to take, because I don't want to because if she fails, it's even harder on me because that's my best friend, right. And she lost 60 pounds and she was one of those, she would almost argue about a lot of stuff. She was like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I count painting as a workout? I was like, you can still paint, but don't count that as your workout. And she even told me later on, it made her mad. But we worked on just simple habit changes. That girl lost over 60 pounds. Not only that, she got her personal training license. She's helping others. And I'm so proud of her. And that's one of the biggest ones you can do. I got another girl, and from her, I got other clients. The best thing about it is when my clients get results, others see it and They want to be a part of it. And I always say we're a team, but it never starts with the perfect meal plan because I could care less about those. I give those to them because people want to have them. I give a sample meal plan. I don't give it's a sample meal plan that you can use within a calorie restriction goal and a protein goal. And I just try to make it simple because if you overwhelm yourself, you're never going to hit it. I want something you can do and never come back to me. Right. So if that answer, I hope that answers your question. I could go on and on about, 200 others, but I also tell you this, I've gotten better results online than I ever did one-on-one, because a lot of people think they need someone in front of them. But if you think that, what are you doing the other 23 hours out of a day?
Right.
What are you doing the other 4 to 5 days a week? If you only think that matters is when someone's in front of you, you already got the wrong mindset, because we got to eat right. We got to exercise some days off, other stuff like that. And with online training, I can keep people more accountable. And that's big.
Awesome. You said, quote, the letter started, whoever reads this, I'm sorry. You had a gun in your hand, but your grandfather, who's passed and is 100% watching over you, intervened and stopped you. You also said, quote, I'm supposed to be happy, Josh, fun, Josh, healthy, Josh, energetic, Josh, love everyone, Josh. Tell us a little bit about that day and, sort of what got you to that point.
Man, I'm really glad we're talking about this. First off, because I want people not to go through what I went through. So, and I think you just asked me what got me to that point. So I'm going to go there. So, my ex-wife wanted a divorce. I didn't understand why, because I always thought, like, if you only I saw my dad beat my mom. Saw my dad do alcohol abuse. My dad tried to kidnap me. My dad hung me upside down. I got beat by him as well. Went through all that. So I saw the drug abuse in my family. I wasn't that. But I do take responsibility for what I was. I was a workaholic and I didn't pay attention. I didn't work on it anymore. I was too busy working on the business. I thought that was going to make her happy. So I was beating myself up for that. And again, never would blame. I'm not blaming things, because I'm in a better place now because of it. But that's, I take responsibility for my part as well. But then I just didn't know why. And then I was trying to be, how everybody is. I always say, I hate when people do this. Only go to God when they're struggling. Like, you should go to him all the time. And I was like, going to a men's group, going to church by myself, trying to figure this out. Like, I need some answers. And all I could think about was like, man, okay, so listen, everybody knows me as a guy that helps a lot of people. I love people. And I'm supposed to be energetic Josh and happy Josh. And I've always been that way. And I was like, you're always so happy. And then I'm being like this, and I'm helping a lot of people with the training at the point. And then, why was I abused? Why was a 10-year-old guy that, when I know I was 10 years old, 19 years old, a guy that everybody made fun of, he's 30, 35 years old. I think at the time, I know his name, I'm not going to say it now, but I didn't want everybody's making fun of him. I was like, well, I'll be his friend. I feel like he's a little, maybe slow, and I want to help him. But he ended up molesting me. He got a chance. I'm like, why'd that happen to me? I'm like, well, why did I get, why did guys put a hit out on me when I was in the police department? Why am I like so worried about that? And then I'm like, why did my mom turn to drugs? Why did my dad turn to alcohol? Why did my name used to be Savage. I got adopted by my stepdad, Robinson. Thanks for that, but I was thinking, and I was doing that why me stuff. And why am I getting divorced? And I'm not cheating. I'm not beating her. I'm actually trying to, I'll be honest with you, I was overly scared not to make her mad at the time. I wanted things to work. So I knew something going on. And at the time I was like, somebody told me, that's my girlfriend now. She was like, she's got to pray about, pray about what? Pray to God for what? You can't, it all happens for a reason. You can't tell me I got molested for a reason. So anyway, so I got to that point, and I started drinking, while any chance I got to help me sleep, numb the pain. I wrote this letter. First off, I actually wrote it. I've actually had thoughts about it. And I was going to a therapist, but I would never tell him everything. So I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't take medication for it. I was like, I'm not taking no medication. I don't know what's pride thing or what. But I also was worried I might become addicted to something because I sold drugs to my mom and that, everybody else I've seen around me. So I would toy with that, in my head, like, man, I wonder what this would look like if I did this. Well, one weekend she went out of town. I was writing a letter and said to whoever may read this. And I knew from my police experience, if you don't talk about suicide, like if you're not saying I'm going to do this, you're more serious about it. I knew that in the back of my head, but I was like, no, not me. I'm supposed to be happy, Josh. I'm supposed to be the guy that gets everybody up. I started writing the letter. Went from one line to another line. I still got the letter. One line to another line. I kept writing it. And so I finished it. Going out, and I was like, I said, I'm sorry. At the end, I was like, I'm sorry. I failed people. I'm sorry I failed you. It's like, I finished it up. Well, then I went to the bathroom. The letter was there. Had my phone, and my granddad's picture. I always had my picture of me, and my granddad, me joking, kissing my granddad on his face. He's pulling me away. We're laughing really hard, and I had it there. And I actually had texted a couple friends before, and then I got a text. Some guy, I'll mention his name. His name's Phil, a really good friend of mine. said, please don't do anything. He calls me. And I looked down at my phone and I got my granddad's revolver. It's his pistol revolver. I still, because he gave it to me, he passed away. And I had my own guns as well, but I had that one. And I don't know why I chose that one. It was just whatever was easier, closer to me. And I had to put it to my head. I was just like, gun and temple. I was like, man, and it was, to me, it was like, well, I'm not really going to do this. But then I got there, I go, I'm going to do this. This is the easiest way out. I'm a burden on everybody else. I can't become the guy that lifts everybody up and then the guy that's making everybody sad. I can't become the guy that's playing victim when I'm supposed to be energetic and happy. I can't become the guy that people are trying to pull out of bed just to get up and I'm worrying my friends and family. I don't want to be a drain on society and my people. And I didn't want to be a drain on my ex-wife at the time either. Like, probably easier for her. She'll get some life insurance out of it and I'm gone. She ain't got to worry about me no more. Because I was still working on trying to get it all back. And I'm sure it was annoying to her. And I was like, well, I'm just making it worse on her too. And that phone rang and I looked down and I saw my granddad's picture and I put that gun down right then and there. And I was like, what am I thinking? And I joked with the guy that sent me the text and called me. He goes, man, are you okay? I was like, I'm fine. Man, you know me. I'm Josh. I'm cool. I ain't gonna hurt myself. He goes, well, sounds like you might by just the way he read me. I was like, oh man, you know me better than I love life too much, man. If I get hurt, you better check, do some investigation. But in the meantime, that's what I was thinking about doing right then there. But I will tell you, did that day, saw the picture, never thought about it again. But I kept the letter to remind me where I was at. And I'm sorry for drawing the story there, guys. If you
no, and I want you to open up and talk as much as you want to today. And I tell you, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I'm very spiritual. And I believe that our relatives cross over and, but their souls and their energy live forever. And we have angels around us. Your grandfather, I know, that's an angel sitting there on your shoulder. He was right there with you that day in that room. That phone rang, synchronicity. It all happened the way it was supposed to happen. Now, it's hard to, I agree with you. It's hard to realize, hey, everything happens for a reason. That's hard. But as far as being where you're supposed to be and things happening in the course and synchronicity and how that happened, you obviously probably reached out with those text messages. There was a reason for that. And then the phone, when it rang at the time and you see your grandfather, that was an angel right there. You know that.
Yeah, and a lot of people, if you saw some of the people that comment, one of my best friends goes, man, I had no idea you're going through that. I was like,
I read those. I
didn't want to bother you with it. And one other friend of mine, one of my best friends, his wife is Jessica, the one who lost the weight. He goes, so hard for me seeing you go through this, knowing when you wouldn't tell me everything, because I didn't want to bother everybody about it, but I was so scared to be alone. The worst place for me. And it's opposite for me. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me since then, and I've done a couple of posts. I did videos a couple of times with that. Even when I was going through it, people reaching out to me like, "How are you getting over it?" Like, I told them I was getting over it, but to help them, but I wasn't getting over the shit. Like, I was struggling. And so, but when people would say that, I was like, man, I'm having a lot of people say like, "Did you hit the gym right away?" Hell no, I didn't. Last thing I wanted to do was go to do what I was doing with my ex-wife, which is working out and going to a gym. I drank, and I'll be honest with you, I'm the rare person who'll ever say this. I hate what it does to your body. I don't think most of us should do, so not recommend this. But drinking kept my mind off of it and being around friends. And I was an embarrassment for a year to 2 years of my life, the way I was acting. But if I would just sit there and would have been alone, every time I was alone, I was in the worst space in my life. Like, I remember walking down the street, I wish a car would just run off the road, just not kill me. I told a preacher that I was talking to, I was like, I just wish someone would just roll, just miss their, text their phone, just run over, kill me. And that's how I felt. But I'd only tell people so much. I never told anybody I thought about suicide till about 2 years ago. I did like a little quick post about it, and I saw it. And I don't like being a victim. I don't want people to think I'm playing a victim. I want to help people. But I saw how much it helped others. I'm like, dang, if I tell people what I went through, it actually helps them.
Right.
I tell people I'm struggling with weight. It helps them. If I tell people I struggle in my life, because all they see is they think it's my highlight reels. Because really, 90% of the time, I'm happy. I got a text last night from a friend. He goes, and we went to the dog track, and he's like, man, my wife just said, like, I can never see John. He's always so happy and sweet. I can never see him down depressed, because and I almost feel like a burden on me to always be that way, to lift others up. And I just couldn't handle it no more. And I'd cry about everything. I could almost tear. I'm not going to though, but I could just cry about every single thing. And I was like, dadgum, I don't want to let anybody down. I want my friends to be okay. And I did, but I overcame it. And my point is that after that happened is I just started looking at it like every day is a day further away from it, no matter how bad or how good. And I would have setbacks. I started getting anxiety where I felt like I was smothering. And I was like, man, what am I going to do right here? And then what I did, I turned out to like drinking and embarrassing myself. Sometimes like I did some stuff during when I was drinking, as far as like I slapped somebody unconscious downtown. I mean, I'm embarrassed, and I like, oh my God, I felt so bad as soon as I did it. He was drunk and he was trying to beat up a friend of mine, but why'd I do that? Right. So I wanted him to beat me up. I wanted him to knock me out. So instead of that, I'll stop, running with all that. But just that's kind of thoughts that went in my head, and I still go through it sometimes. I'm in a better place now. A big thing of it doesn't happen now, it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And I just kept reciting that line in my head over and over again.
I know that one thing that, I remember hearing, from some people around me when I was in deep depression were the words, quote, suck it up. People who are not depressed and have never been there do not have any idea what it's like for the most part. It's not something you can just suck it up and then be perfectly okay, is it?
No. And, I will tell you this, don't ever tell me that, because it would almost tell me the opposite, because I would almost take turns of talking to my friends. I'd avoid phone calls for a while for certain people. Like if I talked to my friend Robert for a couple of weeks, like, well, he's heard enough of me. Let me talk to someone else. I did get here, like, don't get caught up playing the victim. And I will tell you, I know that, and I'm glad this happened to me. I'm glad this happened to me because I'm a big proponent of like, man, you can do this, put your mind to it. But some things you can't just get over. You know what else sucks, Mike? Okay, if I call you Mike.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm getting passionate now. So it sucks is when you're looking up stuff as a man. And I don't like to play the, like, I hate when we separate. Like, I hate it when anybody plays victim and separates themselves from society. But right. As a male, I was looking up how to get through a divorce. I went on YouTube channel, research, and it was always about women and how to get over it like a man, how to get over it. Because you know why? Because we're supposed to just suck it up. And I'm not 100% against that. We're supposed to always look in the mirror, like how to get over it like a man, how to get, because like, what about me? I'm crying every day. Like, somebody help me. I'm begging for it. I was trying to listen to women, but they were beating up men so much. So I was like, well, listen to this woman. Maybe she can help me out. They had my phone in my hand. Like, maybe she can help me out. Like, no, she's not. She's making me feel like I'm a dick. Like I'm actually the one sad. It was so hard to find a resource to help me get through that. And I'll tell you another thing that happened. You talking about, angels, like spirits helping you out. Like my granddad, when I was dreaming about it, and I lived with my ex-wife while we were going through the separation process for a while. And dream about my grandma, this is one of the biggest dreams. There's a few big dreams that happen to me. I dream every night. I always have. But I dreamed my grandma was taking my clothes out and putting them in her car. Like, Grandma, what are you doing? She goes, you got to get out of here. You got to get over this. You got to come on. Because my grandma was a tough lady. And that was my dream. Like the last weekend, I was still, staying in the same house as my ex-wife. And I'm like, man, she is trying to tell me something, but I don't want to listen. But I knew that was her.
Right.
And it's kind of crazy how that works. And you got to take those, and you got to take any kind of little bit of a light you get every single day and roll with it. Because it's so easy to say doom and gloom the whole time.
It really is, especially in today's world.
Yeah, because you see everybody else doing so good. And I love that people post happy stuff. Like, I don't want most people that don't do that. I just wish sometimes, like I do. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect by no means, because I always worry, like, am I being too happy? I overthink. I'm a people pleaser. I want to please people. And I'm like, man, am I being too happy? Am I playing a victim here? Or, but then, because every once in a while, I know when people think different about me. I have a lot of bad qualities in my life, but reading people is not one of them. I can read people. When I was a police officer, one of my best things I had as a person, I was like, I can tell you think I'm playing like a victim right now. And I promise you I'm not. Not many people would, but that one, you hold on that one bad, right? But you got to hold on to that light you might have, that one person you might help that day, that one person that might read that post. One person did. And I'm sure you might have saw the video. One person did call me. He goes, I'm thinking about checking out, man. I need you. Man, I got up at 10:30, 10:45, immediately talked to him. Not going to say his name, not going to do anything else. But he went through it. I'm like, I'm so glad you called me. I've checked on him every day since. I'm doing better, going to therapy. He is, and there's other stuff that he's going through. And I was like, that's awesome. But I'm like, you do not get a text or call from me. Don't pick up or don't text me back, because I will drive my tail over there. you know,
Right.
and that's a good feeling to be able to do that for someone else. So I'm actually appreciative this happened to me now.
Yep. You reach someone, and that, that's exactly why, I reached out to you and, and stuff. And why we're doing this today for sure. You talked about, being embarrassed because of, how low you had become and your marriage didn't last. And, I can relate, to the first part of, being embarrassed. And, I've shared some of the story before, I don't think that we were Facebook friends at the time, but, I haven't shared all of this, after a bad health scare, 4 years ago, actually, this week, it was October 2nd, 2018. I took a super deep dive downward, and downward spiral. And, I had a mattress store at the time and several employees working for me, but I was the face of the business, and, I was there 6 days a week. And after having the pulmonary embolisms and almost dying, I think I might have been there after being there 6 days a week for several years. I think over the next 10 months, I was there maybe a total of 6 days. I was stuck. I was in quicksand. I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And, even though the store was doing really well as far as sales, it did over, I'm not saying this to brag, but we did over $2 million in sales in 2018 for a small store. When I checked out physically, mentally, sales dropped dramatically. The morale of obviously the employees, for the most part, they knew what I was going through, so their heads weren't in it as much too. And, but the overhead was still high, and the combination of not being able to get myself re-engaged and a lot less money coming in, because of that, I had to end up closing the store in July of 2019.
That's all right.
The depression got worse from there. And then the depression and fear set in to where it went even deeper. And I probably in late 2019 sent out 30 or 40 texts. And this is something I haven't shared, 30 or 40 texts to people that I know, basically begging for financial help. I did that because I thought it would help, but actually it made things worse because even more embarrassment sets in, and I can remember 2 different times sitting in my den. I lived by myself out in Davies Plantation at the time, and had, pill bottles in my hand full of pills. And, I remember crying. I was looking around the room. I have 3 miniature schnauzers that thankfully I still have today, all of them, Lucy, Rocky, and Georgie. And I just kept, I'm sorry.
I had a Rocky.
Yeah. I just kept saying to myself, how can I do this to them? If I do this, they're probably going to die too, because it might be days before anyone finds me. If I did this and someone did find me and found them in time, they're probably going to get split up, after all they do is each other for, since basically day one. And I can honestly say, and I don't know for sure if I would have ever gotten to the point of swallowing the pill, a pill bottle. I just don't know, but I was close, and I was close enough to where it was a really scary situation. Speaking of, when you talked about your dad, your grandfather, and spiritually it woke you up, from doing it. I know that my dad, who passed away in 2013, he gave me the strength to keep going despite my situation. And the thought, and I thought also, if I do this, it's going to kill my mom too, and I owe it all, to them and everything. I just couldn't do it. But getting to the point where you're close, like you did, having a gun pointed at your temple, it's scary.
Yeah, and it wasn't the first time I put a gun to my head. It was crazy. I just knew, but before it was like, I just want to see what this look like. But that was the first time it was legit. I probably did it maybe 7 times. That was the last time I did it. And you talk about like being embarrassed, man, the embarrassment of, I've always been the guy that, again, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I've always been the guy that's always I've outkicked my coverage in life.
Right.
Remember a gas station manager, and I hold a chip on my shoulder. I do. I'm not going to lie. It's probably not good, but it works for me. I remember a guy when I was 16 years old, I was working one of my jobs at like Sonic or Shoney's, wherever I was working at the time. I had to get my little checks. I was playing sports. He goes, man, I wouldn't cash this little bitty ass check. I go, well, he goes, man, you're a daggum gas station manager. He goes, you'd be lucky to have my job, making $42,000 a year, getting benefits. I go, man, you're right, sir. If you're hiring, I was like, and I walked in, they go, he's exactly right. That'd be my dream job, just to be able to have that, and And I've worked my, self up to something better, but I was embarrassed because I was the first friend that had a house. I was the first friend that really had my career going. I was the first friend to graduate college. I wanted to grew up with me. And then I was, everybody like, man, it just falls in place for Josh. Like, no, I work really hard for everything I got, but it seemed like that. And I remember my friend goes, man, when he heard about marriage, going through divorce, he goes, you're the last person I thought would go through this. I'm like, dang, I am too. And then I remember I didn't have a plan B. I don't know about, when you've had something happen to you. Like I remember, my ex-wife saying like, what are you going to do? What are you going to work? I didn't know I was going to be an online trainer. And I'll be honest with you, I half-assed the first year. I was broke as crap. I was credit card debt, everything. Anything I had, I was just spending it. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I was going to live. And a friend let me live in his basement in his house. But you know what? I was so prideful. He goes, man, you ain't got to pay me. I still paid the guy $600 a month. I was like, I got to give you something because I couldn't just take it. Sometimes I wish I should have just done it because I would want someone to do that for me. Then I went somewhere else. And the issue of doing that was just so hard of like, man, I'm begging to live with someone else in their family, and he would get up in there and he'd say, I'd lay in bed, and I wasn't the guy to lay in bed till 2:00. But he's like, but he said he came in there. We talked about it now. He's like, I'd come in there, try to get you out of bed because I've never seen you like this. Come on, man, get up. He said he'd see vodka bottles and NyQuil. Because like I can't sleep. I'm doing whatever I can to sleep, and I knew that wasn't good for me as a fitness professional. And it's just any plain Jane knows that's not good for you. But I couldn't do anything else to keep going. And so, and then the embarrassment was it was embarrassment of the felon. It was embarrassment of not having a house anymore, not being able to correct my marriage, not having that business that I worked so hard for. Because I was the face of it. I always say like she was probably the brains of it, but I was the face of it. Like I know I was because I was marketing everything. But it's like, damn, how do I, like in the town of Cargill too, I was like, I just went in a shell. I didn't want nobody to see me. I'd hate walking outside and someone to see me. I hated it. And that's my buddy said, I never saw you wear hats before. And I'd wear a hat every day over my head everywhere I went. I go, I just don't want nobody to talk to me, because I don't want them to see me like this, So I get that embarrassment and shame, and it sucks going through it. But again, I'll say with you and say with me, if we didn't go through this, we wouldn't have this conversation right now. You wouldn't be making the impact you are, and I wouldn't be making the impact I am. And honest to God, I'm trying to figure out a way to, keep my training business, but pivot more to helping, whether, I don't know if it should be just men or men and women or entrepreneurs. Like when they go through a struggle like this, how do you get back? And just be real with them, because everybody has this like cookie cutter way to do it. But sometimes everybody's different. What worked for me probably wouldn't work for you. It might not work for Johnny or Susie, but you got to find out what works for people, and you got to basically help them go along and be the best version of themselves whatever that might be. And it might be a horrible version, but it gets better each day. And I want people to know, like, damn it, if you're listening to this and you're going through something, find one little piece of joy, because it's going to get there. Hug somebody, talk to someone. Most of your friends want you to talk to them, even though you might not,
I share my story, and I'm sure you did. It's like you said, it wasn't the end of the depression. After you almost kill yourself, you still, just because you didn't do it, it doesn't mean it ends there. And thank God we're here. We're still fighting the fight and going on. And it's a scary situation, but you can get through it. It just takes work, but you can get through it. So many times people, what people see on the outside is far different from, what the thoughts are going on the inside with somebody. And, you have a successful online coaching and training business. You were in great physical condition when this happened, yet none of that mattered when you got to the point about thinking, ended it all, did it?
No, it didn't. And it was so hard to do anything. It was so, like, again, if you went through 3 years, it was so hard to figure out what I was going to do next to even want a career. It was so hard to want to take care of myself. And you're right. I always think I will 100% say I've never met a very happy, unhealthy person. They might say, I'm so happy. But you're always happier if you're healthy and you're in good shape. You don't have diabetes. You're going to be a little bit happier because of that. But it's not a cure all to be all. When I was going through my divorce, I had ripped abs. I was working out, before, I just stopped once the divorce was there. But I was, like you would think I was in tip top shape. And then I was like, but it don't matter because my head's messed up. You got to have balance. So health is not just your body. It's like it's it's also your mind and your heart. You can't just think health is, because you got a messed up head. It doesn't matter if you're a bodybuilder, you got 6-pack abs, you're a professional football player. You see all the time, they're committing suicide. Like it does not matter if this is messed up. You know, I can't say enough for it's important to have a friend or someone you can talk to. Do not fight this battle alone.
You know, I went online and I looked up successful and famous people who committed suicide. Some of them I knew, but there were many that I didn't know. It even told you how they did it. It was just devastating. You know, we know comedian Robin Williams, lead singer of the band Linkin Park, Chester Bennington. They sold over 100 million albums. He was a 5-time Grammy Award winning, actor and singer. Over 100 million albums, and then a 5-time winning Grammy Award winner, Naomi Judd. Chris Cornell, lead singer of the bands Temple the Dog, Audio Slave, and Soundgarden, sold over 300, had over 300 on-demand audio streams in the United States. Voted, rock's greatest singers by readers of Guitar World. I can go on and on and on. All these people entertained us. They made us feel good, when obviously on the inside, many times, they were hurting, deeply depressed, and then eventually committed suicide, leaving so many loved ones and fans wondering, what if? I don't know if some of them or all of them got help at any point, but I do know that it doesn't matter how much money you talked about, money or you make, or great family, or what your community thinks of you, or what the world thinks of you in their cases. When the pain of living in your mind far outweighs the thought of not being here, it's really hard. And many times this happens. There was a light at the end of the tunnel for all of them. They just couldn't see it, could they?
No, it's blocked out. It's funny you say that, because a client of mine, nobody knew what I was going through, that my ex-wife was trying to separate, she was separated from me. We weren't trying to do jack, but she was doing it. And I was still working at the business together. Like, I worked there for 6 months, or 7 months, knowing what was going on. And some people could start seeing it. And one of my clients walked up to me. She goes, "I'm really worried about you." She goes, I go, "Why's that?" And, I'm J-Rob. Like, what you worried about, girl? Like my little joke in my face. She goes, "Man, the people that like make everybody else laugh and are always like helping everybody else and interject like you seem to be the ones that have the like the darkest secrets or something that really bother them, and that might do something." I'm like, "Oh, come on, girl. You know me better than that." But I walked out and I end up in that place by myself every night. When everybody left, I'd stay there. And I'm like, how the hell does she know what I was going through? I've told her now, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's, I knew something was up." She was people that, because I'm always, everywhere I go, I'm always like the life of the party. I'm always a loud guy. I'm always a funny guy. And sometimes I'll even say like, I'm gonna dial it back. I'm gonna be calm, but it's just what I do. I'd rather you laugh at me or laugh with me. I don't care. I want you smiling. And she's like, I could just tell something was going on because it was just a little bit different. I was like, damn, how does she know that? And it made me think of, and then she told me later, she made me think of like Robin Williams. I'm not funny. Right. He's hilarious. Yeah. But I would like to be, but but she goes like, I just see all these people that I know that have done that. I always find out they have some bad secrets going on. They're going something bad in their life. They don't even talk about it. And the time I was thinking about that. I was so embarrassed about telling people that I ever got molested. I was thinking about like, man, why'd that even happen to me? That guy went to jail for a lot of years, so he had, it's all gone, but it's like, why did this happen to me? Why is this, and you start doing that. Why me? I'm like, how come I can make everybody else happy and help them, and I can't make myself happy?
The Robin Williams one hit me hard. I was a little kid when, Mork and Mindy were on, and obviously all the movies he was in, and just so funny. And then you find out, just like you said, you just don't have any idea of people that are entertaining and making everybody laugh. You don't know what demons they're living with inside. And even some people that get help to commit suicide. I mean, that does still happen.
Because we can write to the people.
Right.
I was crying to my therapist. Yeah. We got so close. We were talking about going on vacation together. Like, hey, I might need a trainer to go on vacation with me. You do this, you write off. We became friends. I talked about his business because I'm a very good deflector. I started deflecting. I got to a certain point, let's talk about something else.
Right.
So I just interrupted you, and I'm so sorry.
No, yeah, absolutely. I want you. Hey, that's what this part of this is just to talk and have a conversation.
I love this conversation too. I love it. I've been on some podcasts before, and I want to gear towards this because everybody wants to talk about the train side, and yeah, I want to do that. I want to grow my business, but who doesn't? Who doesn't want to grow their business? But man, I want to make impact. Yeah. I think this stuff right here can make an impact on everybody. Like, you sharing this and you doing what you're doing and spreading that. And every time I talk about people, people either don't know it or affect somebody somehow in a good way, not a bad way.
Right. So. You said, quote, so many people go so hard and give up after a few weeks, causing you to yo-yo diet. You also usually end up gaining the weight, and then some. Once you do that, you come off a very strict diet. Why does it happen where people end up gaining, most of the weight back, and they actually end up gaining more back?
Man, I'm speaking from the fact. It's going to tell you something the people don't know about me. I'm gonna go back to what your question is when I was a kid, after I did get molested and all that abuse happened and separation, all that stuff, I turned into a fat, chubby kid that stuttered a lot. I couldn't say a complete sentence, which is really shocking for this guy that talks a lot now, and so it's so that's one thing you don't know about me. I want to say the reason why I know some of this stuff is because it's happened to me in experience, because I would go all in on it, So anyways, that's past that. So we'll get to this. Why that happens to be, why do people want to go so restrictive, and then they'll get some results, and then they stop and they even gain the weight back even then more, right? For a lot of people, what they'll do is they look at like a time frame. This should be a lifestyle. If you, and I tell you all the time, like I'm not a big believer. I hate keto. I hate it. And keto lovers, I hate it. I know so many people that have got on it, either it's like their cholesterol levels have gone up and they've had some health issues, and that's not even the worst part, but it's just so restrictive. It's hard to maintain your whole life.
Right.
And that's with anything, it's very restrictive. But if people do something where it's so restrictive, where they work out 7 days a week, 3 hours a day, and they want to like never eat a piece of bread and like be in a severe calorie restriction, what happens is eventually it's going to slow down, and any kind of hiccup, and you get one, and you start thinking about, like, I want that one bite. And then all of a sudden that one bite turns into more. And then you're like, I can't keep doing this. And that's why people a lot of times say, well, I'll eat me a big cake before I do my diet. You should be looking at habits instead of looking at I hate meal prepping. I did it I'll use a meal prep service, but that's why I tell people all the time, you're not going to cook. Most likely you're not going to cook 4 hours a day in the kitchen every Sunday. Why don't we make decisions we can make in everyday life when we're busy and enjoy it still? And I do think you should be a little bit more restrictive at first, but it should never be all in, all out. And when people get that first taste or that first relaxing day on the couch or that vacation, and if you can't, I tell people, like, if we can get past this 6 to 9 week mark, you'll see the results. Then you'll also feel them, and you'll never want to stop. But if you if you like make a reason why you can't go, like, oh, I'm busy today. Well, that's how it starts. You fall off, like, well, I don't feel like doing that. I'd much rather, because let's be honest, motivation sucks. It's not real. You see these young 20-year-olds on Instagram, like motivation. Motivation only lasts for a very little bit of time at the very beginning. Discipline lasts longer. And it's got to be something you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, you can't do it for a long time, you're going to quit. And some people say, well, I don't enjoy exercise. But you know what you do enjoy? Because I don't enjoy. Hey, hell, who does just want to puff and puff and push themselves a limit every day? But what you do enjoy is when you walk out of that exercise. The heaviest weight you'll ever lift is that gym door, And then if also in the same sense, if you starve yourself, and if it's just about losing weight with people and it's not about being healthy, just cut off your legs, you'll lose weight. Just starve yourself, you'll lose weight, but we want something we can actually really do. I know I'm being drastic here. And then the reason why people can't do that is because they don't know their why. What is your why? Why do you want this? It can't be, well, I just want to be healthy. Well, if you just want to be healthy, you'd have been healthy a long time ago. Well, I want to do it for my kids. Well, you don't want to do it for your kids either because you want to go to the ball games or anything else. We got to find something. Why do you want it? And then people will just kind of give up. And once they start that give up process, like, oh, this feels so good. I'll get back to it tomorrow. It's always tomorrow or next Monday or next month. Next month is the next month. Then it's next week. Then people start hiding in pictures. Don't want to go on swimming parties. Don't want to be around. So as long as you can hide it, it's great. But once you can't hide it, it's so important. 2 things motivate people. Well, 3 things really I find a lot. One is a wedding. Always motivate someone, because you want to look your best. Great. There's another time, if you're in the hospital right now and they said if you don't exercise 4 days a week, just for 30 minutes, and you don't eat right, 80-20 rule, for the next 6 weeks, you're going to die and lose your family. All of a sudden, you can make it happen, right?
Right.
But you've got to find a way to do that and not go all in, because when you go all in, you go right back all out. And I'm the all in mentality king. I've been that way, and it took me a while to learn that myself. But I write down certain rules, and I do habits. Great book, by the way, for you, anybody listens, Atomic Habits. But I write down things that I want to achieve that week, that month, the 3 months. I got a 90-day, I got a weekly goal, 30-day goal, 90-day goal, and I got my yearly goals. But I start small so I can hit those things and make them, and it's something I can actually attain. I hope that makes sense for you on that.
Does.
And I hate it when I see people talk about, like, even one of my clients, like, hey, I can't find 3 zucchinis. What I get, if you don't like zucchinis, don't eat zucchinis. Like you got to find something you like. Don't stress yourself. Even just the stress of overwhelming yourself will make you quit and go further along the way. Like just do some do's and don'ts. And I'm gonna preach on this for one more second here. If you're out there and you're struggling with your health, and find things you know to do. Stay off sweets. Drink 100 ounces of water. Move 10 minutes a day. Choose grilled over fried. I mean, little things like that. You don't need a meal plan for that.
Right.
You know, and you can get that anywhere, any fast food place, anywhere you want to go to. Like, well, I can't do it because I'm going to eat. Well, just get grilled chicken. You know, so it's just the hard part is, though, I'll tell you the truth. And then this is me relating to them. Hard part is just doing it. Just doing it. We make it harder, but the easy stuff is hard. For some people, it's just hard to drink 100 ounces of water, or 80 ounces of water, or 60 ounces of water. For some people, it's hard just to get. I was a sugar addict. I did my own before. I put it on my Facebook post today. I've done it twice where I get stressed out and I turn to sweets. My dog was named Reese, for Christ's sakes, for Reese peanut butter cups. I turned to sweets and I was becoming a chunky trainer. I did one thing. I laid off any kind of alcohol, and I did two things, and sweets, and just continued everything else. And all of a sudden I have a six pack again. But it's so hard to do that one thing. Right. And we want to do everything all at once because we want quick results. We're not microwave society.
Right. I read a quote online, and it said, quote, many times what people want to do is make that social connection with someone and be heard and listened to, unquote. You know, the old saying that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that is why reaching out like what you did and what I did is super important, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, people would not work for me. I remember one client who told me she was in the magazine for her results. She told me, she was like, you know, the reason I lied to you on assessment, she went back on, so we do an assessment, or we do, you know, your progress. She goes, I go, what's wrong? I was like worried. I go, what am I doing wrong? I felt this lady. Like, and I'll put it on me. And she goes, I was never going to have another bad monthly progress, because I knew I lied to you. And I saw the hurt in your eyes about that. I could hear it in your voice. She goes, never could do that again. It's because she knew I cared. That's why I tell people, like, it's not because of the meal plans and the workouts. I do think they all help, because you need certain things. For bodybuilders need something different than what I don't even know how to deal with a bodybuilder. Like, look at me, you know, I know how to do trim and tone. So I know that the part to get you for nutrition and for workouts and stuff for, you know, to trim and tone, especially in your stomach, is something that bothers me. But really what matters in all of it is, like, how much does someone care about you? And I can't make the other person do it. I care about a lot of people. And you see all the success stories, but there's also behind those, there's half of people that just quit on me, don't talk to me no more. And so I can't make you do it. We got to want this together. And it's something I've always tried to figure out new ways. How can I trick this person to keep going for me? Like, how can I hold, like, one of them, I'm not going to say her name, is like, her husband said, like, I can't believe you're doing that. You know, spend that money and doing that. You're not going to. I was like, so our slogan every time I get off a text or calls, like, prove them wrong. Every time, you know, so I know that's not right now. That sparks her. Prove them wrong, you know, so that helps. And she knows I care about her. I love her. I love all of them. Everybody comes to me, you're my best friend till you prove otherwise.
Right. You said, quote, I couldn't see any chance of amazing things coming my way because I was drowning in self-pity. I had to pick myself up and realize that God has a plan for each one of us. We can find the good in any bad situation if we open our eyes and give it time, but it can be tough, unquote. As hard as it was where you got to the point where you had that gun to your head, I know we've talked on this, and I just want to touch on it once again. Man, your grandfather at that point in time really took over, didn't he? And it changed everything.
He took over with a gun in my hand, for sure. And I also thought about, like, well, what if I don't go to heaven and I don't see him again? And then, yeah, my granddad is he's the best man I've ever met in my life. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. I probably would be a bad person if it wasn't for him. He did everything. He's the world to me. I was his only. He had $2 out. He told me I was his only son. I would sit with him butt to butt in a truck and a two pick him, like, and people. I remember one time somebody made fun of me. I got out and fought him, like, right, because I was sitting next to my granddad was making fun of me. He picked me up from my house, taking me to school. He just was always he meant so much to me. I don't ever want to disappoint him. And that's something I always think about. Like, when I first left the police department, because it got to me. Police department got to me because people love firemen, but they hate the police. Like I actually had aspirations, like I'm gonna be the mayor. I'm gonna bring us all together. Like I'm gonna do this. And then it was like I got shot at, and I hear people talking bad about me. It was a radio talking about me one time. Somebody ran me over, hit me in a car or whatever. We had a little car chase, and I didn't kill him. He shot the police. I killed him, and I was like, why this guy even bother me anyway? Well, because he was parked in a handicap spot. But if the conversation was, are you okay, man? Do you need to go to the hospital? I'll get you there. Let me see your ID while we're waiting for your girlfriend. And it just kind of happened. I'm like, man, people just hate me for no reason. But and I did that for my granddad, and my granddad pinned my badge over, and I felt so bad when I quit. I was like, I don't still want to disappoint him. But I just hope to God that I'm half the guy. I mean, if I'm half of him, I'm a successful guy. It wasn't because he was rich. Man, he loved his family. Everybody loved him. He's one of those guys, he'd go anywhere, everybody talked to him. Every time we'd go to the barbershop, just talk, joke around with people. Like I would sit there right beside him. And I'm talking about I did that stuff forever. Like, and so he after that, part of it was like, man, I can't disappoint him and my grandma. But then it came like, they don't want to see me feel like sorry for myself all the time. And I was like, I got to do something. At one point, I remember telling somebody, so even after that, it was probably another like 9 months. I was still like crying and probably it wasn't like the depression went away because I wasn't thinking about killing myself no more. Right. And I go, man, I put all my mind and my attention to my business. And then when I started, I told people like, when I help one person do this business and they tell me like, man, you really saved me from this. I'm like, I had one person tell me like, I had one person tell me they might commit suicide. And I gave them some free tickets to a Grizzly game to go with their son. I had no idea. And like, you changed, and you would not let me not go, and I was like, well, that's awesome, And so I held on to those things. And every time that happened, it was almost like, I look at it as like a car. I was getting fuel with every person I helped. And I was like, damn, this is awesome. I stopped thinking about money. All I thought about was people, like, damn, this is what I need right here. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I want to live. I want to be able to eat, and I want to have like a roof over my head and my dog and, my girlfriend. I want all that. But as long as I can live and I can help people, like, I don't care, because it doesn't matter. Nobody's going, when you lay dead on your pillow, you're not going to be saying like, I made a lot of money. Right. You don't want to think about how many people you've impacted in your life, and my granddad did that. I mean, I wish you could have met him. I wish everybody could have met him. I wish that guy could live forever. And I remember when his final breath, I remember like doing that, and a part of me left with him. So I want his bad. I want all his good bad qualities. He's got bad qualities. He's got bad feet. I got bad feet. I'm happy. That's my granddad's feet.
You hit home with me just when you just mentioned that you said about your grandfather, about if you could be half the man, you'd be success. It's exactly what I said about my dad in his eulogy. I said those exact words. If I could be half as good as he was, half the man he was, that I'd be successful at that level. And so it hit home. So obviously your granddad and my dad would have been great friends.
No doubt about it. I mean, and my grandma, she kept us in check. She kept us in check. And I mean, it's when I was going through my worst times, I remember my real dad held me upside down from a two-story, threatening to drop me. And try to, kidnap me. Something happened. Somebody had to put a gun to him. Whatever. It all happened. It's a long story for a short podcast. But who's the first one there? My granddad. When I got sick, I might be living somewhere else, but who'd I call? My granddad. When I was scared about something, who'd I come to? My granddad. And it wasn't because, a lot of times, like, people don't realize, like, it's not always the words. I watched every move he made. I remember he hated he did not like our neighbor, but my neighbor had a punctured lung. My granddad stopped whistle. We were in the middle of dinner. We're going in there. We're sitting in there, take him to the hospital, riding there with him. They had, I say hate them. They had those tough. That one of the guys, he call me fat, and my grandma didn't like that. But you know what? He stopped everything to help someone else. My track team, we didn't have a bus when I ran track, and he picked up. We had a Ford Crown Vic. He drove to the track meet in Panama City, drove us from the hotel back 4 at a time.
Wow!
And they all loved him. Like, and my grandma too. They all loved him. Like, he was just there for everyone. Broke. I know he didn't have a lot, but the house is small as crap. Police officer salary. I'm gonna say he's broke, but he didn't have a lot. But man, it felt like he had everything.
Because he did. He had love in his heart. That's everything.
Sure did.
In 2019, men accounted for 80% of all suicide deaths in America. Studies show that the majority of American men who die by suicide have no history of mental health problems because they don't talk about them. Part of that really shocked me when I read that in an article in the New York Post. The last line, though, quote, because they don't talk about them, it didn't shock me. And we've both referred to that today. I've spoken about this before on a few podcasts that I've done. But many men today, they do not open up about their problems because it's, quote, not the cool thing to do or the macho thing to do. And in their mind, it's going to make me look weak. And like I say, nothing can be further from the truth, because it actually makes you stronger to seek help. I remember one of my psychologists years ago said that people that seek help are way stronger than people that don't. You were obviously very transparent in your post on this on Facebook and Instagram, and I have been before too. And basically, the same thing happened to us in a different way, but many people responded to you and responded to me when I was transparent with a ton of love, compassion, warmth, and said they appreciated our openness and our vulnerability. Men who are depressed and having bad thoughts, they don't need to worry about their ego, and they need to leave the ego at the door and reach out, because it's worth it, and it really does help. And they'll see that people do care about them, and they'll be there for them, and they're going to listen. I mean, look what's happened with you, what happened with me. They're going to listen.
Yeah, they want someone. They want to hear it. I knew that stat too. Now, there's actually a TikTok video like this out there. If you're on TikTok, it says like, who do you get? I was interviewing a bunch of men. Like, who do you go to when you have trouble? He goes, no one. Nobody's gonna listen to me. It's different guys. Why would I go to anybody? Like, I'm not talking. Nobody cares what I think. I'm a man. And again, I will say this: there's a fine line, though, people. I'm big on this. There's a fine line from talking to people and then feeling so sorry for yourself that you never let it go and you can't get out of it. It's a scary thing, because I want people to make sure they talk about it, but you got to figure at some point that's what I said. So it was May of 2018 when she told me she wanted to leave me. And it was, and then in August of 2019 was when I woke up and I said, I got to stop feeling so sorry for myself. I got to do something about it. So it's not forever, but you had to talk about it. And men hold that in, because for me, I was like, man, I didn't want to be a burden. You're right. I don't want to be a sissy. Right. And then I didn't really want to think about it. What was crazy is one of my really good friends, like, man, I've never seen you cry a day in your life. I'd be the guy that and it's not because I wasn't emotional about people. I just wasn't there. I would go to a different place when something sad happened. I was really good at that. I could avoid, I could joke about being abused as a kid. Like, I was like, whatever, like, ha ha ha. Didn't work, did it? Like, whatever it might be. And so I'd play it off with laughter. I'd have two emotions, laughter or anger. My real dad told me that I was going to be, sorry for the language here, but a pussy if I was raised by my mom. And if you said that word to me, man, you might as well just go ahead and spit in my face. We're going at it. I don't care how big you are. We're fighting, and I used that anger for me. And that was a lot of anger in my heart because of that. But then it was either that or laughter, but I didn't have the emotion of sadness or like being deep. I'm such a deep person now. It's ridiculous, because I realize, like, when you don't, as like most men do, when they do get that point, they let all this stuff build up, and then there's that straw that just breaks your back. You're like, this is it. I've had enough. And so, man, and women do a great job. It's where I say, man, they do a great job. They talk about it with their friends, maybe sometimes too much, but they do it. And I'm happy they do that. But also, again, we got to be very careful from telling people that, like, our problems and talking about it, to letting it defeat us.
Right.
Sometimes I had to, like, okay, I need to stop talking about it, because if I talk about it, when I was so sad, if I keep going, or in my head, keep thinking about it, I'm never going to move forward. I got to think about what I can move forward with. Does that make sense? I hope I don't sound heartless when I say that.
Makes complete sense. Absolutely.
Because I was about to go broke, not doing I was like, I got to do something. So put my attention to something. I need a hobby. Like, let's just make this a business hit and go with that. So.
One thing you said, I really like, you said, if you're going through a tough season right now, I want you to know this could be the best thing that ever happened to you, unquote. How has now everything you've gotten, where you've gotten to this point where you are, you are exactly where you're supposed to be right now, aren't you?
Man, you couldn't tell me that 3 years ago, but yeah, I want to touch on that, because I have the best friends a man can ever have. I got way more, people say, like, man, I only have a couple of good friends in my life. Man, I could say, I'd probably say 20. I would consider best friends.
That's awesome.
Again, I don't know how I'd pick a best, but obviously have a picture of my granddad as my best man. He was my best man at my wedding too, by the way. But
My dad was mine.
I have so many great friends. And then a girl came into my life and I was like, man, I hated women. Like literally I remember this, a woman, we were at a Grizzlies game and they were coming through this bar outside the Grizzlies game. I forgot the name of it. And they came through and they were all cheering them on and I booed them. I'm like, they're at a bar out your Grizzlies game. You think they're going to make it? They was about to, that was me. I'm like, oh my, and Debbie Downer here. But from that, now, yeah, did I lose a lot of money during this whole process, and just throw it away? I've got I never knew love like I have now. And I'm not just saying it because I was looking for ways to not be with this person I'm with now. Her name is Brittany.
Tell us about Brittany.
She's an amazing person. She, I'll try to push her away time and time again. I remember one time I tried to push her away and one of my friends saw her at church. She was like, because I wasn't going to church that. I ain't going. Like I had nothing to do with that place at the time. And they're like, man, just give Josh time. He's a really good guy. She goes, that really said something. But I would push her away. I'd be out late at night doing stupid stuff, not even thinking about her, and say, I don't think we need to talk to each other, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's too early. I don't want to hurt you. But she never pushed herself on me. She never like pushed herself on me. She's like, okay, I understand. I get it. And then we just kind of always came back and we had met each other a long time ago as friends. And it's almost like, man, again, I know you're not a really religious person. It's like God had a bigger plan for me, and this thing again, it happened to me.
But I'm a big believer in God, even though I'm not super religious.
Okay, well, I'm the same way. I'm not a guy that goes to church all the time, but I believe in God a ton.
Me too. I pray every night.
Because I wish I was better, but either way, I went from where I was at, and I was miserable. Like, I was miserable too, but I was like, I was such a believer in God, and I was like, I made a promise to God to do this till death do us part, better or worse. And we're at the worst part, but I'm gonna figure this stuff out and we'll get this back together with my previous marriage, but it didn't work out and all that other stuff happened. I was like, damn, how's this gonna end up? Last year was the most money I've ever made in my life. Good. And again, I'm not saying I'm super rich, but I've never made that much money when I had PT squared at profit wise. Because profit was, it's business on a profit and actually making money, two different things.
Yep.
Happiest I've ever been. I've never been with the guy that's like, I'd make fun of dudes like, why are you taking your girlfriend to the gym? Golly, come on. She's a trainer too. She was a dancer. We go to the gym together. We have such a great time. Wherever we go, it's always fun and laughs. And I never would have thought, because she fits me so perfect. One thing big for me was, God, I don't want to make sure I talk about my ex-wife, because I don't want to do that. But I didn't want to ever be controlled again. Like, I hated that because I felt like I just was a shell of myself. Right. And all my friends saw that. But I also wanted 50-50. I wanted to do it because I wanted to do it, and so I got her. I live in an apartment now, but I'm happy as I can be. The business is good. I'm helping a lot of people. I can kind of control my own destiny with that. I lost a lot of friends before the divorce because I was so focused on work. I was one of those guys that and for anybody out there that's an entrepreneur, this hustle mentality will kill you if you're not careful. I wasn't sleeping, started getting high blood pressure. I was working. I was delivering food for Ultimate Foods at the time just to get the meal. So it was a trade just so I can get food. And we split it up. I was struggling that bad at the time. But that's all I thought about. I was like, I can outwork this. Like, I've done everything else, but I was just getting sick. My heart was pounding. I couldn't sleep, and that will hurt you. But I lost friends along the way. Like, hey, what are you doing? I wouldn't return a phone call. And every year on New Year's, I'd like, the next day, like, hey, man, I'm sorry I haven't paid attention to you. I promise this year I'll be better. And then I wasn't. And I lose them. I lose friends. And I got my friends back, got the best friends in the world. I've got, my health, got a nice little dog here. And I got her. And I can't tell you. I don't know what else you want to know. But anybody, I've learned from my mistakes too, because I wasn't perfect. I might say things about like, oh, I didn't want to be controlled again. But I wasn't perfect. I know I wasn't. And I'm always, another quality of mine that I take pride in is I always look in the mirror first. There's some things I could have done better. I could have done better with anything, with my friendships, with my business, with her. I'm so glad she's here now, but she could have left me and I would understand completely.
One thing I really love you said about her, you said, quote, I have a girl that I never thought even existed, and we live every day to the fullest together. That's so awesome.
Man, I'm telling you, I wish everybody had a Brittany. And I'm not just saying it because I'm the anti when it comes to women in relationships. Like, hey, oh, she's perfect. She's perfect for 2 weeks. Get out of here. Or he's perfect. Well, he's really good for 3 months. Right. We've been together now 3 years, over 3 years. I don't know exact time frame because we don't have exact dates. It kind of kept going. The pandemic really pushed us closer together too, but it just gotten better and better with time. Like I know what's going to happen. I'm not like, I don't want to be like the kid in the high school shit. Like we never had an argument, you know, because you know why? Because if she gets mad about something, I think about like, oh, I could have done that better. You're right. Or if it's the same thing with her. She gets mad about something. Or if I get mad, she's like, you're right. The other day, she bit about something and she hardly ever bites. And she goes, you know, I'm sorry, that's really selfish. I was like, oh, don't worry about it. But that's, we think of each other with everything we do. And we also give each other time. Like I still go out with my friends and do my thing. I think we always have to be, you know, smash together all the daggum time. And I never thought that because I've seen, and I've seen other people, I don't say my friends go about that, but I've seen other relationships where that's never the case. And one of them's usually miserable or being controlled or they don't like where they're at. But, you know, I never thought, it's what's crazy is when I got married, she was at my wedding because she used to work at a gym I was at, and I invited the whole gym because Josh wants to make it a big party to the wedding, and she was there, you know. And who would have thought this happened? Now we didn't even talk to each other forever until one day something happened, and there's another spiritual thing that popped into play. Is I got a text. My ex-wife was supposed to be texting her friend saying, Josh says he might be doing online training, so I'm gonna do a video about how you need to be doing one-on-one training online. And she said, I was like trying to push people to make sure they stayed at PT Square because I didn't want to hurt that business. Right. I gotta go, oh my God, this is really over. That night, I was like, well, should try to, you know, talk to somebody at some point. We met at a basketball game and had the best conversation. So, but that's
synchronicity,
my
man.
love story here, but that's
synchronicity. It was like I said, you are where you are because you're supposed to be here. That happened the way it was supposed to happen. So, man, I know it's an old saying that people say, oh yeah, you deserve happiness and everything. Man, obviously the relationship you have where COVID split a lot of people apart, it brought you guys closer together. So good for you guys. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. Yes. And you'll see us on these videos. We do some stupid stuff together.
I've seen them.
Have you seen me dance on any of them yet? If you have, I'm sorry about that. So that's sight for sore eyes. I know.
They're fun. They're funny. So yeah, keep doing them. That's good. You're making people laugh, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Being the big dog lover that I am, and have always had dogs in my whole life. They're the greatest pleasure in the world because the unconditional love. And obviously, as I'm sure you know, it's just the most horrible, devastating thing at the end. And it is. And when I think about one day of losing all three of mine, that all they've known is each other for almost 13 years, I can't even imagine it. But I've seen your picture of Reese. Tell us about Reese.
You know, you say that. What's kind of crazy first and foremost about Reese is a month before my ex-wife told me she's divorced, my longtime dog Rocky passed away. And I
have a Rocky too.
Yeah, I know. So I said that, and I had a Rocky, and he passed away. I was like, I'm still struggling over this, and that happened. But let me tell you about Reese. So Reese is obviously he's Josh Jr. You know, he loves hard and he plays hard, and I love that about him. He's I got him. I didn't know if I wanted a dog. And actually, when I first got him, I was like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? You know, because you know how puppies are, especially puppy labs. That dog sits with me everywhere I go. I put him up because I was like, he's going to jump in my lap in the middle of this. If I'm working,
which would have been fine for me.
He's sitting underneath my feet all the time. I do a thing where I put my legs up on the wall for health circulation. He was sitting on my chest. I'm rubbing him. We watch TV together. We play together. It's just nothing beats. No matter what's going on in your day, you open that door. Every morning he wakes up, he's jumping over me. Every time I open that door, and I know people don't like being jumped on, and that's my fault. I'm training him to jump on me apparently because I love him so much. Open that door, he's always excited. And there's been times I've been a bad dog dad, but he don't care. Dude loves me. I never felt that. You know, you don't ever. I tell people all the time, we could all learn from dogs.
Absolutely.
There's a picture, a meme, or a GIF or something where a guy sitting here and his dog sitting here. The guy's thinking about I gotta pay bills. Oh, I need to do this tomorrow. What about next week? The dog is, I'm just happy to be with my dad. You know, that's all they think about. You know, they want to, and food.
Yes.
But yeah, I love that. That Joker's great.
That's awesome, man. So Josh, how can people find you on social media if they're interested in training with Josh Strong?
There's a few ways. I'm on everything, by the way. So I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. One thing is you find me on Facebook and look up Josh Robinson, but I'm about to hit my friend request limit there so I might have to start linking, but I'm also under Josh Strong under Facebook. You can message through there. You can email me at joshfit jlr@gmail.com. You can also do that. I'm on all the social media sites. I'm always kind of doing stuff with that. But I tell you, if someone out there is even thinking about, man, I really can relate to this guy, I want you to know, like, and I think everybody's got a great program. So there's two things you need to know. One is you get what you pay for. You know, I don't definitely my business coach keeps telling me to raise my prices. I can't do it. First off, he lives in California. I live in Memphis. That's totally different. Like, hold on, partner, step back.
Big difference.
But if you're picking someone, find someone that you can relate to. You know, and I always say, like, find someone that you can talk to and you feel like they could be a friend of mine. Because you're not gonna you don't want someone just constantly barking orders at you all the time. And believe in it before you get started. I'm a big and also before you do it, know you're ready. Don't say, oh, I think I may be. I turn people away, which is the dumbest thing for in business probably. If I do a questionnaire and you say you're a 5 out of 10 ready to do this, like, oh, but they still want to sign up, like, well, we're not doing this, because I want a before and after picture. I want you to be happy. I want you to tell your friends about me. So you can reach out to me through there. So joshfitjlr@gmail.com, Josh Strong on Facebook, Josh Strong Fitness on Instagram, Josh Strong on TikTok, Josh Robinson on LinkedIn. So you got a lot of ways to get to me, and you can probably put something down here. But if you just want to message me and you don't want to use me, just want to say hi, you know, hey, or if you you need help, damn, I love it. I'll give all the free advice I can to the point, you know. But right. But if you're going through something, man, I want to be there for you if I possibly can.
Good for you. No, I reached out to you last week after reading your post because I thought it was important to open up this dialogue and talk more about suicide, and was hoping that maybe, you know, us talking about it in more detail, sharing our experiences, where we were, and then, you know, someone can see where we are now and realize that as bleak as things are sometimes for people, you can get to the other side. You can get your life back. You know, even if it feels like that, some people feel like they really have never even had a life, you know, that they wanted. You know, reaching out for help, talking to someone, it opens the door that's been shut and allows them to finally maybe have the life they want. And once again, you know, we do not claim to be experts in this, and, you know, what works for one person, just like in fitness, you know, doesn't always work for another, you know. But however, you know, making the first step and just letting, you know, just one person know what's going on, you know, in your mind, it's a huge thing, and it will help you. And you just have to open up your mind and let the help in. And, you know, lastly, I want to say, if someone is contemplating, you know, suicide at all, you know, and doesn't have anyone around to talk to, because we do know that sometimes, you know, that's the case sometimes, that for some people, there really aren't a lot of people around to talk to. You can call the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline, and the number is really easy now. It's just 988. You can call from your home or cell phone. If you're ever to the place where Josh and I were at one point, please do that. You know, at the very minimum, make that one call. They're there to listen, and I promise you they're there to help too. You know, Josh, I really appreciate you coming on today. You know, I don't know how you came up with the name Josh Strong for your business, but it fits you perfectly because you obviously are a strong man in many different ways.
Well, I really appreciate that. And my name was going to be Never Give Up. And I give credit to Brittany on this, because I said, should it be Never Give Up? Because it's always my motto, or Josh Strong. I was like, well, if I pivot ever to like strong on your life and strong on everything else, I don't mean it just about muscles, you know, like,
right.
It should be Josh Strong. And I was like, okay, I like it. You need a poll. And somebody said that. So I really appreciate that. I just want to be there. I want to be open with my struggles. Like right now I'm going through I had some injuries. I'm like, I got to get my body right. I can't be a fraud. Right.
Right.
And, but I also want to be there, a light for someone, let them know, like, hey, you got this. Nothing we can't do together, you know. And I really appreciate you reaching out, man. I can't wait to get to know you more. So if you think that now that I got your cell phone number, we're not going to talk, we'll go have lunch, you got another thing coming. Because like I said, everybody's my best friend right off the bat. And I want to help you spread this message more as much as I can.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on today. I appreciate your time.
All right. Have a good one, bud.
You too. Thank you.